All right, everybody. Well, welcome and happy Wednesday. We are so excited that you are on this call tonight. This is a really exciting call for us because we want to share something that has quite literally changed our lives. I am honored to be presenting with my dear friends Diane Hunt and Rachel Maurice about this revolutionary phototherapy patch that is really disrupting the health and the wellness industry in a massive way, in a good way. So you are going to hear some powerful testimonials tonight. We're going to get into the science and why people are experiencing such amazing benefits. We will be opening it up for Q&A for those new on the call tonight. If time permits, we do have a hard stop at 8:30. But just a little bit about who we are before we dive in. I am Beth Blackmore. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a health and empowerment coach. And my journey into the health and wellness arena started almost 7 years ago when I became conscious of my programmed mind and I decided to do something about it. I ended up losing 60 pounds through my food choices, my lifestyle habits, and I thought that was a big win. But honestly, that was just the beginning of my conscious awakening. I ended up leaving my HR career in government, pension and all, because I wanted more freedom, more medical freedom at the time. And I wanted to pursue my passion, helping people take charge of their health through their ever powerful mind. So, as someone who is curious and open minded, I love learning. And over the past 2 years, I've really started to appreciate the power of light, sunlight, our circadian rhythm, and basically how our light environment, especially light, plays a massive role in our health and well-being. And thanks all to my friend Rachel here. So then 19 months ago, when my dear friend Diane reached out to me more than once, I will say, about this little phototherapy patch, I was intrigued, a little skeptical, but intrigued. Until my mom started to see benefits right out of the gate. So I did what any good daughter would do. I patched my mom. We both started at the same time. She had been experiencing knee pain for years. She was going to the physiotherapist 3 times a week. And within a few days, she noticed relief. Her physiotherapist also noticed more mobility, less inflammation. She wondered what had changed, what supplement she was taking. But the only thing she was doing differently was this sticker that her daughter put on her. And it didn't stop there. My mom started experiencing better sleep, deeper sleep. She had more energy, more stamina throughout the day. She was getting back to the things that she loves doing, like walking and gardening and swimming, taking care of her younger grandkids. And for me, the first thing that I noticed was that I was finally able to sleep through the night and having vivid dreams, which is unheard of for me. And that was within a couple of days of patching. I also had experienced this lower back pain, this tightness, this compression issue that I had dealt with for years. That eased up within a week of patching. I no longer experienced this tightness at all. I was going to chiro, for adjustments every 3 weeks. I have not gone to chiro for 20 months. And I have better recovery after working out. No more stiff and sore joints. My energy, my mental clarity, my focus have improved. I also have to say that I have this sense of calm as well. And what truly fires me up is that I know that the best is yet to come. My body is healing and repairing and age reversing. There's also a really exciting financial opportunity with the trajectory of this company. So we're going to be touching on that a little bit later. But right now, I would love to call on my friend and my business partner, Diane Hunt, who is the reason why we are all here today. She's going to share her inspiring story with you.
Thank you, Beth. Yes, I'm so excited because you can see just how many people are on here because of my one decision to be open. I was a critical care cardiac nurse for 20 years in New York City, like Beth mentioned. And, I was just very frustrated with the system. I went into it for health, but I felt that people were not getting healthy. It was another pill, another surgery. So, probably 10 of the 20 years, I really started digging into natural health, healing, holistic side. And it wasn't until then where I really thought that that was the true foundation to get my body back into balance. Fast forward, I got COVID when COVID first came out, whatever we believe, and it did a number on my heart and my lungs. And so I truly didn't feel like I recovered back to my baseline. I was struggling with shortness of breath, and I'm somebody that's very active. I love to exercise. I used to run. I couldn't even run without getting, winded. Never mind even walking the dogs. I would sound like I was running when I was on the phone with people. And so that was scary for me because I was also dealing with palpitations at the same time. So I knew it did a number to my heart and lungs. So I was praying. And at the same time that I was praying for myself, I was also praying for my dad, who was also on this call, because I was watching his health decline very quickly. You know, he's going to be 82 in January. And, you know, when you see your parents, like Beth said, you know, having issues, it's almost the first thing you think about more than yourself. So I was praying for myself, for my husband, for my dad, and this patch came into my arena. And so I got the big package. I thought we all need it. Who doesn't want to age backwards and feel better? And so we put it all on, and within 24 hours, now keep that in mind, I was a 24-hour wonder. I no longer had shortness of breath, nor did I have any palpitations. And now I'm into it just about 3 years, and the miracles still happen. No longer do I need my readers for everything. I don't have dry eye and floaters anymore. I used to be 5'3". I just had a physical for life insurance. I'm 5'4". Like, so, I mean, at 50, who's growing an inch? But because I had slight curvature of the spine, and this helps with back to nature, right? Bringing us back to balance. My spine straightened out. My umbilical hernia repaired after 13 years. The miracles that we see are endless. And so I could take another 30 minutes of giving my testimony and forget about what it's done for my dad. Talk about age reversal. The man just got back from hiking in Switzerland, him and my mom, over 40 something miles. The man, 2.5, almost 3 years ago, couldn't even get up from a seated position without assistance. He was in a boot and a cane. So we are definitely the fountain of youth when you wear these patches, and the miracles just, it tis the season, right? It's the season of miracles. So I'm going to pass it over to Rachel and let her explain what she has noticed as well. And super excited for all of you on this call.
Thank you both, Beth and Diane. So I will try to be succinct here. My name is Rachel Maurice, and I worked as an anesthesiologist in Canada for close to 20 years. I left in 2021 when I decided I wanted to make the decisions, to have the decision making over my own health and my own body and my family's, and didn't think that I'd be gone for very long. Ended up doing a lot of digging into information that was contradictory basically to everything I had learned in the previous 30 years in medicine. And what I ended up uncovering was something that rocked the foundation of everything that I understood, that I was taught about how the body works. And by that, I mean that light is the primary control for every single physiologic function that happens in the body. And while it was a bit disturbing that I hadn't learned anything about this in 30 years in medicine, I became very excited very quickly because everything started to make sense, and I was able to make some small but very powerful shifts in my lifestyle that made huge changes. And one of them had to do with energy. And I went from falling asleep at the wheel, literally during the day while driving, to not changing anything else, but being able to stay awake without any coffee, any stimulants or anything. And so light became a huge thing I dove into for a couple of years. It was very exciting. And in that, I ended up coming across, never mind red light panels. As you can see, I'm bathing in red here because it's after sunset. But these tools, this phototherapy patch, rather than using an outside source of light, uses ours. And so the first introduction, I actually didn't give it its due diligence and investigate any further because realistically, it was who introduced it to me. And then a year later, when Beth and I were talking about this, someone who I trusted and I'd seen changes in, made me want to investigate further. And then it was a divine intervention and connection with Diane Hunt, being a cardiac surgical nurse. And it was timely because my mom's health was starting to decline to the point where her doctors were talking about heart surgery. Now, having spent 25 years in the operating room, while yes, I've seen a lot of miracles with trauma and acute illness, I've seen a lot of harm and a lot of complications, and it's just due to the nature of invasive intervention. So for me, if anyone can avoid surgery, that is the route to go. And I did not want my mom to have surgery if she didn't have to. And so Diane not only shared stories with me, but she actually shared investigations like echocardiograms and ECGs. And knowing that she'd spent 20 years in the same environment that I had, with the same experiences, the same foundation of learning about health, I knew that she understood what I understood. And what she shared with me was showing people who had been in heart failure, which is one of my mom's biggest problems, significant heart failure after wearing these patches for 8, 10, 12 months, no longer being in heart failure to the degree that I've never seen in my career in 30 years without an artificial pump being inserted into the heart. Diane had never seen in her career 20 years, specifically and exclusively in the cardiac arena. It was actually a no-brainer to get my mom started because there's no downside whatsoever, no uh, potential for complications. And so we got my mom started. I wasn't just going to let her be the guinea pig, so I got started as well. But I prepared her to have patience because we are a society that is like a drive-through society. We want the easy button. There's jokes about it in memes and commercials, that big red easy button. We want everything now, quick. And so that's not the way the body works. The body actually takes time to break down. We don't give it that, we don't actually realize that, most of us, but it does take time to break down and it takes time to heal. So I prepared my mom to give it a year, told her I didn't want to hear any complaining before a year. And I was shocked, to say the least, that within 2 weeks, we'd walk together regularly. She went from stopping every 2 to 3 steps to catch her breath from the heart failure to walking with me for 20 to 30 minutes while talking and on an incline. So honestly, that made absolutely no sense in the old way that I understood how the body works. It now makes sense to me from the new understanding, this new paradigm. But still, 2 weeks was absolutely unbelievable. And then within 3 weeks, she actually had to have her thyroid medication lowered by her doctor that she'd been on for over 30 years. So that was not me doing anything. I told her she needed to go to her doctor and have everything done by the person that was looking after her. Since then, I mean, her energy was so good. She had this vibrancy that her friends who saw her were like, "What on earth are you doing?" Because she just looked so different. They wanted to do whatever it was. They didn't even ask any questions. "Whatever you're doing, I want to try it." And her varicose veins started diminishing, her spider veins started disappearing. She had skin issues from some medications she was on, literally 80% cleared up within a few weeks, and a bunch of other things happened. And so I can share more afterwards, but I just want to honor everyone's time and be mindful, and so we can get on with the presentation and share more afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So if those testimonials weren't powerful enough, we're actually going to turn it over to, I think, Reka, if she's on the call here. I think I saw her come in. If you're able to unmute yourself and share your story tonight. Reka, are you on?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi, good
Hello.
evening. Thank you everyone for coming and listening to these three wonderful ladies who've been coming on this course and educating us about the patch and lights and so on. So I started taking the patch 14 months ago. My dear friend Lynn introduced me to the patch, and I didn't have much expectations because I didn't know anything about it. It was just something I wanted to try. I trusted Lynn. So at that time, I was one of my issues was severe migraine. 3-4 times a week, at least once a week, I'd be in bed all day. It was very severe and it was getting worse. So I started patching, and the next week I've noticed that the intensity and the frequency of my migraines were improving significantly. Right now it's probably, I'd say 95% is gone. I used to have a medication that had a lot of side effects. You were only able to take it 6 times a month. I have not taken one since that one. I also had issues with blood pressure that's normalized. I had a spider vein that is fading away. I always had sleep problems since teenage years, and that affected my energy. I was not a morning person. I wake up now in the morning earlier on my own with lots of energy. My mood has increased. With my family, we had allergies. I had allergies and eczema since childhood. I have my skin cleared up. The last season, the seasonal allergy, I have not seized once, not once. I also noticed in the summer that I can see well when I'm driving. Um, and just people are noticing that I'm happier. I have this radiance and I look good. My hair, I never had thick hair and it's growing and it's thicker. I've also put my family on this patch because, of course, we want our families to do well. So one of my sons, he had 2 decades problem since early on. Every 3 months, I had to take him to the dentist. And the last 2 appointments, he had no cavities. And his dental hygiene has not improved. He's a teenager. And also, just briefly with my mom, unfortunately, we lost her dad earlier this year. And I was actually planning to put him on the patch, but unfortunately, they live overseas. He did not wait for me. He did have heart issues, but I did put the patch on my mom, and she is great because she's been wearing it every day. And I'm so proud of her because you know how parents don't always listen to their daughters. So what I've noticed, she's almost 82. I mean, obviously she's dealing with grief. So her mood has improved. She reports a lot of energy. She had hair loss that stopped, and also she had nail funguses that is clearing up, and just the mental clarity. So she lives overseas. She does not speak English, and last week she came with a connecting flight, which is a 20-hour trip with 6 hour difference. And then she came and she's with us for the Christmas, and I'm very grateful for that.
Amazing. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for sharing this tonight. I didn't know this story, Rika, so thank you so much for sharing and
thank you.
sharing it with your family. Love hearing this.
Thank you.
All right, I would love to call on Dylan if you're able to unmute yourself and share your story tonight.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to also appreciate let you know I appreciate the opportunity. This team is like super supportive and it feels good to give back. So just wanted to lead with that. And yeah, I got a really unique journey. So about 7.5 years ago, I had a breakup. I totaled my car and my mom went into life-threatening surgery, and that happened with all in about a month and a half. So there's a lot of trauma at once. I developed a condition known as anhedonia, which is the inability to experience pleasure. So just being in a state where, I couldn't get excited, had no emotion, no appetite, no joy, no emotion. And that led me on a journey to Mexico for a handful of other healing modalities, one including stem cell injections. And so, it was kind of hard at that point to figure out what was doing which. And that was 2018. I ended up developing a gut issue. So I was a vegan vegetarian. I couldn't breathe like after eating, and I tried everything in Canada and just nothing was working. So at that point, I knew that like stem cells in the back of my head, made a huge or significant impact on my recovery, but I just didn't know how much. So in 2021, I did about 150 million stem cells, and I noticed that my gut issues were eradicated pretty much immediately, and then noticed that I needed to eat meat, and that was one thing that was sensitive to a lot of other things. And then my mother, she had open heart surgery, and the machine that was supposed to keep her breathing broke down during the surgery. She flatlined and died pretty much, and they had to come in for an emergency surgery. And my theory is because that happened, she'd had a really hard time recovering. She was puking every day from like August of 2017 to December 2017, and just always on oxygen, never really had a good quality of life. And so, I was trying to keep her hopes down because I wasn't really sure exactly how effective it would be, but I got her down to Mexico in 2021 to do the stem cells and noticed how strong that was. Like she went up 5 flights of stairs for the first time right after the treatment, and it's been a complete 180. She's back to work, not on oxygen as much, and it's been about 4 years since that happened. So this has been something I've been, going down to Mexico for the last 4 years and using it as an anti-aging treatment. And, ranging anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 every year. So I've always, trying to look for other ways to, improve my health. And I was really skeptical of the patches, like most people are. They came across my journey like 3 years ago, and I had some friend now, guy. You've been following him for a while, and he started sharing about how the patches helped him, and I found him to have a good reputation. He's a writer, so I was like, what, I'm going to give these a shot. So it's been about 3.5 months now. I'm noticing a similar, impact or benefit as I was, with the stem cells in Mexico. I'm getting about 5 to 6 hours of sleep, and I'm wide awake. Mood's lifted, clarity of thinking is way better. Muscles recover almost instantly at the gym, and it's been a game changer for me. So yeah, that's been my journey so far.
Awesome, Dylan. Thanks so much for sharing tonight, and such, an amazing alternative to, with these patches. And we're going to get into, the cost of them a little bit later, but just in terms of the comparison with having to fly down to Mexico and, the risk, the invasiveness that could potentially come with the injection of stem cells. And now we have you on the patch.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing tonight. We're so glad that you're with us and able to share this amazing story. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, so I'm going to go into sharing a slide deck with you tonight. And if you could just let me know once you see the screen, just give me a thumbs up that you can see that okay. Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to dive into how your own light that you emit can activate your body's natural and powerful ability to heal. And I do want to say at the outset that Lifewave products, they are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. This patch is not a medical device that requires the FDA to approve it. It is considered a general wellness product by the FDA. All right, so did you know this? So this is really the crux of the problem here that we experience as we age, that our stem cells actually go dormant. So by the age of 30, healthy stem cells decrease by 60%. By 60 years old, those healthy stem cells decrease by a whopping 90%. And not only is the natural aging process contributing to our decline in health, but unfortunately, folks, the modern world that we live in, this modern age of convenience and consumerism, we are inundated with poisons and toxins and chemicals in the air and the water and the food and the man-made synthetic radiation everywhere. All of this leads to cellular dysfunction, and our bodies require healthy active stem cells to heal and repair the body. The fewer stem cells you have, the faster you age and the slower you heal. And for those of you that do not know, stem cells are the undifferentiated cells that can become any cell in your body. Your heart cells, your lung cells, your liver cells, your hair cells, and even your brain cells. Who doesn't need more brain cells these days? We've heard of stem cell therapy, right? Dylan was talking about it, but where do those stem cells come from? Where are they sourced from, right? Stem cell treatment, we know, can be pricey, not always accessible. You're flying down to Mexico for them. It can have a huge risk. And I've actually heard a stat recently that it's only about 50% effective because they stay local to the injection site. So this is why regenerating your own stem cells within you is so exciting, and why this phototherapy patch is such a powerful option. So phototherapy, or healing with light, we're hearing more and more about this biohacking these days with red light panels, infrared saunas, but phototherapy is really nothing new. It's something all living beings depend on. The original light therapy, that big glowing ball in the sky, the sun, signals our bodies to create vitamin D, which is essential to our health. But photobiomodulation is a specific type of light therapy or phototherapy that uses specific wavelengths of light to stimulate cells that promote the healing process, boosts energy, reduces inflammation, improves blood flow, and helps with tissue repair. And what is so exciting is that this type of light therapy is now accessible, non-invasive, affordable, and risk-free. And so what if these little wearable light patches are also capable of increasing a naturally occurring copper peptide in the body? Well, that's exactly what this patch does. So through this process of photobiomodulation, this little light patch increases the production of human, or our own, GHKCU copper peptide. And this is known as the holy grail of age reversal. This is not a synthetic peptide that you are injecting. They are not exogenous. They are your own naturally occurring, but just like with stem cells, they also decrease with age. So this unique copper peptide was actually isolated back in 1973 by Dr. Lauren Picard. He was a PhD and researcher. I have his book right here. So there is 50 years of research to back it up. You can actually find all kinds of research for yourself, studies at pubmed.gov, which is an online repository of scientific research. And so some of the amazing benefits that we know of GHKCU is that it boosts collagen and elastin production. It supports tissue repair and regeneration. It's known to have multiple anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety, anti-pain, and even anti-cancer properties. GHKCU is also known to reset over 4,000 genes in our genome, basically resetting our DNA to a younger, healthier state. But what is truly exciting that the research also shows is that GHKCU reactivates our own dormant stem cells. And it does this through the power of this patch. So the flagship X39 patch from Lifewave is a wearable phototherapy patch about the size of a quarter. You can see it here on my wrist. This patch consists of 5 organic materials, amino acids, sugar, water, oxygen, and salt that forms this crystal lattice structure that reflects these wavelengths of light. And so what I love about it, and what is counter to anything that we've been exposed to by the conventional medical system, is that there is nothing on this patch going into your skin. Nothing is being consumed, nothing is being absorbed, because they are non-transdermal. They are latex-free. They do not contain any drugs or chemicals or stimulants. There are no contraindications, meaning that they do not interfere with any medications. It's a completely different mechanism from what we are used to. And so this patented product uses the process of photobiomodulation. So it's activated by your body's own heat, your body's own light. We are all light beings. We all emit a low-level infrared light. We are all warm to the touch. So think of it as a mirror reflecting specific light frequencies back into the body, signaling biological changes at the cellular level, including the upregulation of GHKCU that then reactivate your dormant stem cells. So I'm going to turn the mic over now to Rachel to walk us through the incredible benefits of the X39.
Thanks, Beth. Okay, so while this slide does say the benefits of Lifewave's X39, I just want to remind everyone that the mechanism behind the X39 is to increase that copper peptide GHKCU. So these really are the benefits of GHKCU, which has the over 50 years of research behind it. And so this is not up for debate. This is actually scientifically proven. So what it does is, this is only a small list of what it can do as well. So it reduces inflammation and pain. And for those not aware, inflammation is actually fundamental to almost all chronic diseases. So imagine being able to reduce inflammation. You can reduce and eliminate symptoms even, as well as those labels that we are given by conventional medicine. And reducing pain is a huge one because chronic pain is actually a subspecialty of anesthesia. So I'm very familiar with it. And it is a subspecialty that is accessed by a large percentage of the population. About 30% of the population walks around with chronic back pain. That's only one chronic pain syndrome. So imagine being able to reduce and alleviate pain, discomfort, what that can bring back to your life and your quality. It improves strength, stamina, and energy levels, which is not even just for people who have reduced strength, stamina, and energy, but also people who want to take their athletic abilities to the next level, their performance. So there are a lot of professional sports players and Olympic athletes that are using these because any amount of improvement will gain an edge on the competitors. It improves muscle and bone density, which is something that declines with age. Improves mental clarity and reduces stress. And these are big ones that we notice as we age. Mental clarity is not even just about focusing on our cognition because it affects everything. We are beings that like community. We thrive in connection. And so we need that. Even when our bodies fail, we really need the connection with people. And I know myself, I got sick in 2020 and my cognition took a nosedive and I ended up isolating myself. So there were repercussions and ramifications for that reduction in cognition. So improving mental clarity can improve so many other aspects in your life as well as relationships and reducing stress. Well, we all know we need that because that is something that impacts everybody. And especially the last 5 years, we've noticed just a tremendous increase in the amount of stress. It's really escalated, and stress is undervalued and really underplayed in terms of the role that it plays in our physical nature of the disease that we or the symptoms that we express. It really does stem from the energy and which comes from emotional and mental aspects. So it's all tied in together. So being able to reduce stress really helps allow our physical nature to express health. It balances hormones and eases anxiety, improves hair growth and skin appearance. And I just usually like to dive a little bit deeper into this because many people think about the aesthetics and just the outside appearance when it comes to hair growth, skin appearance, and let's say our nails. We think about collagen improvement, right? And it goes much deeper than skin deep because collagen is actually the most abundant protein in the body. It makes up 70% of the protein in our body. It makes up the infrastructure of our connective tissue, our fascia, which is something that I learned in medical school just to overlook. And in surgery, I just saw surgeons pushing it aside to get to the organ, which was what they wanted to focus on. But the connective tissue and the fascia is so much more. It's actually the foundation of the communication network in our body. And most of us think about communication. We think about hormones and neurotransmitters and what floats around in the blood. And while that is a means of communication, it's actually the slowest. We then understand that we've got electrical impulses, what our heart runs on, electrical impulses, our nervous system. That's faster than what is floating around in the blood. But what's even faster is light communication. And light actually communicates through the water network in our body. And that is tied very closely to the collagen because the way collagen is structured, it actually makes these water nanotubules, and collagen and the fascia touches every single part of our body, every cell, even within the cells. And so that really allows the quantum communication superhighway to flow. And as with anything, including, for example, within our own family, within our work systems, education, communications, everything. When there's communication breakdown, chaos ensues. The same goes within our body. So we need proper communication to express health. And that's why I really like to explain this a little deeper because most people are not aware of this. It also promotes cellular repair and wound healing and improves sleep quality. And sleep quality is also another big one that I hear from people. Yeah, I don't really notice anything, but my sleep is better. Well, I just want to share that improvement in sleep and energy levels are really at the foundation of healing because we can have the proper number of sleep hours or what people think, let's say 8 hours of sleep. But if you're not getting the quality of sleep that is needed, then the repair is not happening. And when the repair isn't happening, then the breakdown happens faster than the repair. And so sleep quality really is very crucial to healing. Next slide, please, Beth. Thanks. So as far as long-term results of the X39, again, the GHKCU, this is very well researched and documented. Within the first few days, over 4,000 genes begin to reset to a younger state. So my question at the beginning was, well, what exactly does that mean? And someone who is a PhD biophysicist and biochemist explained it to me very succinctly. So I want to share this with you because it's much easier to understand or to believe it when you actually understand. And so imagine a photographer, a professional photographer who has lights set up and all of their equipment and those umbrellas that reflect certain lights so that you get this beautiful image, this beautiful picture we can imagine as health. And over time, that equipment starts to break down, it starts to fall apart, and then you might not have the lighting in the same spots that you'd like, or you have something that's too bright or too dim, and then the image just doesn't turn out like it used to. So now getting new equipment or the equivalent of resetting those genes back to a younger state, you are then going to have that imagery and express health like you did when you were younger. And to give more context to this, we only have, depending on the resource that you read, around 20,000 genes in our genome. It's actually less than a fruit fly, if you can believe it, which points to epigenetics really being at the forefront of being able to express what we express. It's not about our genes, but resetting over 4,000 genes out of 20,000 is a massive amount. And to give more context to that, people may have heard about the benefits of resveratrol, which is found in red wine, and you can go buy it. They've capitalized off of it. You can go to your health food store and buy it as a supplement. And the attention that resveratrol gets is because it resets 2 genes. 2. This resets over 4,000. Within 6 weeks, the brain becomes more balanced. And what does that mean? It means the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain are actually speaking together. They're communicating. There's coherence. And remember what I said about communication. Communication is really how we express health. So the brain communicating properly allows it to connect and communicate better with the body and allows health to be expressed. Within 3 months, collagen is increased, which I talked about. And within 6 months, the heart reverses in age. And that's a really big one. I love what David Schmidt says here. It's not anti-aging, it's actually age reversal. Next slide, please, Beth. And how to wear it. This I love, and I find myself saying that a lot. I love so many things about this, but this patch is quite literally the simplest thing that I've ever come across in the 30 years I've been in allopathic medicine and around, I would say, the 8 years that I've been in the holistic world. There are so many benefits and so many other tools out there that work, but honestly, they take extra time out of your day, or they take extra energy or motivation, or they just require something extra that a lot of times people find difficult. This is literally a sticker. You peel the backing off, you put it on your body. We'll touch on wear in a moment. You wear it for 12 hours. You go about your day. It doesn't interfere with anything. You can bathe with it, go in the ocean. I've been in the ocean, the rivers, the baths, saunas, red light, everything doesn't interfere with anything. You take it off after 12 hours. You want to wear it during the day because it does increase energy. And then you can either dispose of it or you can put it on your dog, which is what I started doing. But my dog actually gets a new fresh patch every day herself nowadays. Or you can put it on your plant, which we have a testimonial that one of our friends a plant flowered after 12 years of not doing anything after using this patch. So there goes the placebo idea out the window. So you want to repeat that, put another patch on the next day and continue that depending on your goal. Really a minimum, because the research shows that 97% of people see an effect by 90 days. You want to give it a good 90 days. And I would just want to really touch on the fact that if you think about it, 90 days is actually quite quick. So it takes decades for us to get sick and show symptoms. 90 days is really fast. So even that is a short amount of time. The recommendation is a month for every decade you've been alive on the planet. And that is to get the full reactivation of your stem cells, not the full benefits, but the full reactivation. So the longer you wear it, as Diane was saying, she's been 3 years, me, it's been 19 months now, and literally the benefits just keep coming. So it depends on your goal. If you have a symptom that you want resolved, you can wear it until that symptom is resolved. And when you stop using it, those benefits don't go away. You just start back with the aging process again. If you are anything like me, I spent 30 years in medicine. I know every single day I went to work, I said, I do not ever want to come here if I don't have to. So I am looking after myself as best as I can. This is a preventative tool for me. It is something I'm going to continue to wear because the world today, this modern world, is not the world that our body is supposed to thrive under. It's got, like we talked about, there's so many stressors on our body, added stressors in our water, our food, our air, our electromagnetic frequencies, even our thoughts and what we're noticing, what we're seeing in the media. Our body needs extra support. That's the way I view it. I'm wearing it. My kids are wearing it and they're young. So those are just my thoughts. You want to make sure that you drink plenty of water. As I talked about before, water is the means of communication for light in the body. So if you are not hydrated, it can definitely impact how well these patches work. So hydration is key. Now, while drinking water is not the main means of hydration, it is important, but you want to make sure that you've got electrolytes in that water. It does not mean you have to go out and buy electrolytes into powder form. I like to go the most natural route possible. So adding some unrefined, and that's key, unrefined salt to your water, because it still has all of those minerals attached to it, which helps hold the water in the body. It actually helps with that negative charge, which is what our cells run on. So making sure you drink adequate amount of water. And just like baking a cake, you want to make sure you have all the ingredients. So that copper peptide, you want to make sure you've got copper in your body. I'm sure everyone who has baked anything enough times, you've forgotten the salt. And even though it's a quarter teaspoon of salt, that cake tastes so funny without that quarter teaspoon of salt. Copper, I go to food sources before I go to supplements, but foods, this is not an exhaustive list, but I just like to share some things. And so the ones that are highest in copper are those organ meats. I'm sure everyone's favorite. We can hide it in things like meats and burgers with kids. But if you don't like those, oysters are a really good superfood, not just for copper, for actually everything, as well as seafood and shellfish. And for those who don't eat any of those, avocados are rich in copper, nuts in particular, cashews, sunflower seeds, and probably everyone's favorite small square of dark chocolate is enough copper for your daily intake. And what to expect. This is an easy one. An interesting one. I'm going to go back to that easy button I talked about earlier. And so many people, we've been so conditioned in our society to look around and have specific expectations and compare ourselves to other people. And while medicine now is predicated on that, with our evidence-based medicine lumping everyone together, saying, well, if 1,000 people, if this works for 1,000 people 90% of the time, well, we should use that for everybody. That's actually not the way the body works. We have come to this planet, every single person with a different set of genetic instructions. We've been exposed to the planet a different number of years, different toxic environments, different stressors, different exposures in terms of traumas, let's say even emotional, mental, and physical or chemical. So everyone's body is different, and the intelligence within our body is something that I don't think we will ever understand, nor do I think we should actually even try. There's an intelligence and a wisdom that we've got a minimum 100,000 reactions going on in every single cell every second of the day. We're never going to be able to figure that out. Our body knows exactly what to do, and it knows in what order to do it. So when we put on that patch, our body's going to decide what needs healing and in what order and what's going to happen first. So I like to explain to people to not focus on the diagnosis label that they've been given by medicine, but really what's going on within them, because ultimately it's all about cellular dysfunction. It's just where those cells are dysfunctional. And really, these patches help with regaining and regenerating cellular function. And so you may think, okay, I want to start these patches because I've got, let's say, eye issues, or I've got joint problems or gut problems. But when you start using the patch, your body might say, well, no, we need to go to your pancreas first, or we need to actually fix your kidneys first. So you might be wearing these patches for 6 months and say, well, my gut's not improving. But like one of my mom's friends, he had headaches, and 2 months later, his headaches were still there, but he was no longer wearing his reading glasses. So clearly his body said, we need to fix your eyes first. So things may happen internally that you might not even notice, you might not feel. I don't know about you, but I've taken a gazillion supplements over the years, and I have honestly never felt one single thing from any of those supplements. Lots of people feel them, but I personally have never. And I know that I still need to take some of them. We've had now, I think, 4 people that I've heard stories from on our team who were in kidney failure using these patches for 6 to 8 months, did not feel a thing, but because they were monitored by a specialist, which one would have to be, they found out from their lab work that they were no longer in kidney failure after wearing them, but they didn't feel anything. So if they went only by what they felt, they would have stopped the patches and said, this isn't working. These patches work on everybody given enough time and given the right circumstances. If you're tired, that actually means it's working. And the reason I say that, and I give this analogy, not that I like comparing our bodies to machines, but everybody knows about cell phones everywhere around the world. And we know that when we've got a full battery, we can do anything. We can multitask, we can use, I don't know, 10, 20 functions on our phone with no problem. But the minute we drain our battery and we get to low battery mode, things start to shut down and it prioritizes different things and you can't multitask. So the same goes for our body. When we are drained of energy, we actually need extra energy for healing. So when you're tired, it's your body telling you to stop doing all this extra work because it wants you to use that energy for healing. So just honor that, give yourself the time to rest, allow yourself the extra sleep to allow that energy to be used for healing. And I just touch on this breathing part because most of us actually don't breathe properly in society. We breathe from our upper chest and our accessory muscles in our neck. And we need to be breathing into our diaphragm. Breathing is meant, our nose is meant for breathing and our mouth is meant for eating. So I would encourage people, there's a lot more to this, but focusing on breathing through your nose actually triggers your diaphragm. And that's how you want the air to go, or the oxygen to go to the places in your lungs where you have most of the blood flow, because the oxygen ends up in the mitochondria where energy is made. And that's what we are looking for to help with improvement in energy. So here we have some images, and so you can actually see, this is someone on our team, actually on the left-hand side. That's only a 6-month period. You can see the hair growth from the left-hand side over to the right. 6 months of using the patches. I can attest myself that my hair has grown very fast. I'm getting it cut a lot more frequently than I used to, and not as much as falling out, which used to happen in the drain. I know a lot of us women, that clogs up the drain, right? On the right-hand side, this gets me every time I see it, but this is a lady only 4 weeks, sorry, after using the X39. This is a curvature of the spine that we term scoliosis, and you can see the straightening of the spine that's happened here. And while it does say there's another patch that she used, that was not contributing to the regeneration. That has to do with pain. And so it was really the X39 that helped with a straightening out of the spine. And here again on the left-hand side, we have a lady with what's called vitiligo. And really what that means is there are areas of depigmentation in the skin, these patchy areas. You can see there's whiter parts. And she said she tried everything to get rid of the vitiligo and nothing worked until the X39. You can see on the right-hand side, well, it's a different color. The important point to mention here and to see is that she has a nice uniform color on her back. And that's really what is resolved, because the vitiligo, it has to do with patchy areas of depigmentation. So the uniform color means that she does not have any more patchy areas of depigmentation. And on the right-hand side, we can see this, for people that cannot see what this is, it's actually a knee after a knee replacement. And I can't even tell you how many I've seen of these. This is very rapid wound healing, only 2 days after using the patch. I know one of the surgeons that I've come across uses the patches before, preoperatively, and postoperatively, because he said what he used to see for wound healing in 3 months, he now sees in 3 weeks using the patches. And here is a brain scan of a 77-year-old woman. Now, on the left-hand side, she had not started using the patch, and the red part denotes inflammation. And you can see there's a fair bit of inflammation there, which is probably all of our brains. And what we want to see is this light blue and green here, because that means coherence. And what coherence means is, again, the right side of the brain, left side of the brain are speaking to each other. There's communication. That's what we want. Now, the middle image, that is only 3 weeks of using the X39. And again, I want to emphasize here, 3 weeks is a very short period of time. When you go to your doctor, most of the time, they're saying you got to use a medication for 6 weeks or 3 months. So here, this is 3 weeks. That red is gone. The inflammation is gone. And there's a little more of the light blue and green coming back in. Again, that's coherence. The right-hand side, 6 weeks after using the X39, still no inflammation. And there's a lot more of that green and light blue, again, coherence, which is what we want. That is communication, which equals health. So I'm going to turn it over now to Diane to share a little bit about the heart behind this company, which is, again, amazing.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, so I do have a connection to this man because he is from New Jersey, and that's where we just moved from. So David Schmidt definitely is a man of heart and integrity. He always told his dad when he was a little boy that his dream was to be an inventor. And his dad was like, well, you're not going to make money doing that. And so he proved his dad wrong. And his other goal was to have world's peace and world's health. So we're getting the world's health. Hopefully we could get the world's peace too. He is amazing. He's very God-centered, and he gives all the credit to God. He feels like he got the downloads through the Bible and is just really a messenger of what he is told to do. He now currently has over 200 patents, which is incredible, right? I don't know who knows people here with maybe 1 or 2 patents, but to have over 200 patents and over 80 clinical trials. What I love is Lifewave is in over 20 countries, right? 80 countries. I think we're in even more than that now, and we are a 20-year-old company. So it's not a new startup. It's tried and true and proven. And the best thing is the growth that we have with this company. We are on the fastest growing team within the fastest growing company in direct sales. So if you're looking for an opportunity and a product that has been tried and true, this is it. The company has gone from 20 million to over 600 million in the last 3 years. And in 2026, we're looking to reach $1 billion in sales. So yes, this is the question, right? After hearing all these amazing testimonies, right? 'Tis the season to give yourself the investment of health, right? And the best gift you can give yourself, the gift that keeps on giving to yourself or to loved ones or to all of it, right? You heard me bless my dad, Beth bless her mom, Rachel bless her mom as well. So there's 3 ways to get started. There's retail customer, okay, for $149.95. That's a 30-day supply. We really don't sign people up that way because there's a better way to get started as a preferred customer. If you want a 0 obligation with the business opportunity, then this is how we recommend you get started. So for $99.95, that's less than $3.50 a day, people. I just got back from New York City. You can't even get a bottled water for less than $3.50. We are regenerating stem cells. We are bringing you back to a younger state for $99.95 a month, okay, on a monthly subscription. And then the third way is to be a brand partner. And, I just have to say this. So many people say they don't want to do the business at first, but once you start having your results, and it's a matter of time, everybody gets results if you do this long enough, right? And so that's the thing that I want you to keep in mind is on this call, you heard the testimonies, who came to your heart. So for $99.95 a month, right, the same pricing as a preferred customer, you can get a startup for a business and also bless yourself with health. And then I'll share the different brand partner packages. So we do say to wear these at least for every decade you're alive, that many months, okay? But as you've heard our testimonies, I would say at least a year, if not longer, because 3 years in and I'm still having my testimonies. Okay, so the 4 different ways as a brand partner to get started are, I came in as a premium, okay, all the way on the right. Yes, it's $17.50, but I knew I wanted this for all my family members, my husband, my kids, my parents. So I saw that as the best value. Instead of them being $99.95 a month, it brings it to $87.50. I was making a smart business decision. I wasn't sure at the time, but I'm so glad that I had the business insight, because to where I am now, as we said, because I said yes, the ripple effect it has had in this world. We are in all over the world, so many countries. And so you could start that way. Otherwise, 11 sleeves for $9.75. So that's a little bit of a discount at $89.17 per sleeve. Sleeve means per month. And then advanced is 6 sleeves for $5.35. Again, at $89.17, you're getting the discount per month. And then there's for 3 sleeves, that's $2.95. So that's really for somebody that's just not sure, it's just for them. That one brings it to $98.33, so a very minimal discount. Okay, so get back to the person that invited you. Let them know how you want to get started on one of those 3 ways that we talked about, and they'll also make recommendations for you as well. And now we're just going to stop the recording. We are going to open it up for questions. And like I said, just make sure you get back to the person that invited you.